What's going on, guys? Looks like I didn't have my audio source in, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to add that on all of the scenes that we're going to be using today. But what's going on, guys? Oh 07's Hello, Raven. How's it going? Strigley, who's our esteemed guest today. And we're going to be communicating some different topics today, guys. But the overall view of what we're trying to talk about today is if Star Citizen crowdfunding is delaying development. That is essentially the topic of today. Uh, we're going to be tackling a couple of different aspects of how what that means for Star Citizen in reference to them getting certain funds and talking about all the ins and outs and the different views and the aspects of how that affects the overall development. But we are going to get into it here in just a minute. But first, let's go ahead and just make everything clear. This is the first episode, so we're still working out all the kinks. There are some things that we have to work out, make sure all the scenes are correctly, all the audio sources, like what we just ran into. Me and our esteemed guests spent an hour before the show trying to make sure all this was done, and I still missed something. So along the way, we probably are going to be editing some stuff and getting it all right. But we're going to try to get everything done. But however, no further ado, let's go ahead and introduce our esteemed guest. This is a popular Twitch Star Citizen community figure. You see him in a multitude of streams, and in a lot of those streams, he is a mod. He is also a part of the org, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Scarlet Order.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Cool. And we're going to get into your org if you want to go into a bit about them. But let's just go ahead and introduce to the people. And first, before we do that, Raven, I see you in the chat here. Can you verify you can hear Strigley? Does his audio come in pretty clear?
Testing,
Is it
testing.
is it like drowning me out? It seemed like it was drowning me out. I'm going to turn it down just a bit there. I hear you
All
both.
good
Okay,
now?
cool. I think so. I think so.
Cool, sweet.
So let's just do a quick sound test. Let me have you say something with enthusiasm, as loud as you can, not yelling, but just with
Like
enthusiasm.
loud, like something like that?
Yeah, something like that. What about that, Raven Queen? I just want to. Okay, does that sound good? Sound good? Sound clear? We good? I can hear you both. That was before we did that test. The order. So Raven knows it sounded good. Okay, awesome. So Raven knows about the Scarlet Order. That I guess you guys are popular. Okay.
Ravens in the order.
Oh, is she? I did not know that, Raven. How did you not tell me that? Okay. All right. So let's get to our esteemed guest. Again, popular Twitch Star Citizen community figure. He's in a lot of different Star Citizen Twitch streams, modded in a couple of those as well. So I'm pretty sure you guys know exactly who it is, or at least have a good idea of who it could be. Strigley is our esteemed guest today. Strigley, if you would like to introduce yourself to the people.
Yeah, so I'm Strigley. Been around for roughly 2 years on Twitch. I've been supporting small streamers where I can from New Zealand, and I've been following the Star Citizens since Kickstarter, and I backed mid 2013. And yeah, like was mentioned earlier, I'm part of Scarlet Order. They've got a few streamers in there as well. Do weekly events, loads of fun. Yeah, a little bit about me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And you say you've been backing since 2013. That was literally like the year where Star Citizen took off. And we're gonna show that graphic earlier. And I wish I would have put it up beforehand, but I didn't.
I was pre-hanger.
E- I wish I would have put it up beforehand just so we can have it up there. But we're gonna get into it. It doesn't really matter. We're gonna show the graphic and we're gonna talk about it then. But um, that was really the year where it took off. So I just want to ask you before we like go into all of the other things. How did, or if you can remember, because it was so long ago, how did you get into Star Citizen?
So it was a friend from school actually on Facebook that posted it up, and my brother got very passionate into it. And it was what drew me in was just the possibility that what you do in game, like things react to it, and that like creates ripples of reactions. And I've always wanted to play a game where, yeah, what I do impacts the game. So For example, you steal an egg from a chicken and then the family starves, maybe doesn't have enough food, and then that ripple effects, which they've sort of got going with how how it reacts. As it what was it called? It quantum.
QuantumCitizens? Are you talking about the chapter?
So the system where, like, for example, if a whole lot of pirates come out and
Oh,
they'll jump a whole lot of cargo routes, yeah,
Quanta. Yeah.
they jump, say, cargo traders, and then the game puts out missions to then protect against pirates, like sort of that reaction. So that's actually what got me into the game, and before then I didn't actually play any space games.
If I can interrupt, so you said that's what got you into the game. How? When
Well, that
did
got
they announce Quanta exactly?
it was really early on. The game was sort of, I'm trying to think when they, well, they've always sort of, since Kickstarter, sort of said what
Yeah.
you do impacts. Like if enough people want to do something, or play in a certain area, then it's going to affect that area. So for example, if a whole lot of people wanted to attack the Vandal, or if some areas are more popular than other places, they might look a bit more jazzed up compared to less popular areas, say cities that might end up run down with graffiti. So they've always
Right.
sort of advertised it.
I got you. I personally joined the project around 2015, I think. I heard about the project before then, but 2015 was when I said, okay, I'm basically going to take this path. I'm basically going to join this game because it sounds interesting as hell. I don't have a PC that can run the game yet, and I think I had a laptop at the time, and I purchased the game and then I tried to load it up on the laptop I was on, and it was just awful, dude. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't load my ship. I was just walking around empty hangar basically. Um, but the whole plan was for me to basically like eventually get a PC. So I knew I was going to go down this path towards getting this game. So that's when I decided, okay, let's do this. But anyway, we
So,
just go ahead.
so I'm guessing that you probably backed for the same reason I did, in the aspect that it's a big sandbox universe that you can do what you want. That's also what drew me in.
Oh, me personally, I basically backed the game because okay, I don't. Not many people know this, and maybe certain people do. I don't know how many people played this game, but I know I of this one experience I had with this game. It was a PC game. I think even I was able to play this game on the laptop I had back then. I can't play Star Citizen on it, but I could play this game. It was a Battlestar Galactica game. And for all intents and purposes, that game is exactly what Star Citizen is today. I don't know. I haven't checked recently to see if it's still what it was back then, or if it's gotten better, or if they expanded upon it. I haven't checked, which brings to mind I might actually do that now that I think about it. But it was this game called Battlestar Galactica, and it was the graphics were looked like Star Citizen graphics today. You could fly around, you could fly your ship, go do different types of things, and the graphics looked the same as far as the ship goes. It didn't. You couldn't go to a planet and get out of your ship and walk on an entire planet. Like it didn't go into depth like Star Citizen or anything like that. But the graphics were like that. But anyway, I played that game, and it kind of ran its course, and I was just I can't remember exactly how Star Citizen came across my board, but Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, it kind of will pop up in recommendations or suggestions when you're searching certain things. So it just popped up, and I looked into it, and I was like, this definitely seems interesting. This seems like something I want to be on board with. Uh, so from what I had saw, like when I first joined, I didn't even see the crowdfunding um, video that Chris Roberts had put out. I didn't even see that until later. I think I had just went to the website and I was looking into what it was, and a couple of different videos on the website and checking things out on the website. But that was basically it. I don't know if that was the thing to do back then because I didn't have all the information, but it definitely seemed interesting. I was down for it, so I put a certain amount of. I think I bought the Titan at that point. So I want to say it was like what's the Titan 60, 65 or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's similar. What did
Yeah.
I got the 315p.
So it was all about the Titan for me. um, and I wish I knew then what I know now. But anyway, um,
Still a good chip though, the Titan. It's still, probably the
mm,
best starter.
let's agree to disagree on that. But anyway, let's just jump right into it. We're gonna jump right into the topic. I there was a particular video that I'm looking for that I saw a while back that brought this topic up to me, and I'm going to be looking for it as we're talking through different conversations today. Um, but I want to start off by um, basically, I guess, declaring lines. I want the viewers to know exactly where we both stand on the topic today before we go into details and go into conversations and discussions. Like the overall general, where do I stand? So the topic of today is does crowdfunding prolong Star Citizen development? Okay. Um, Me personally, it's out there. So we're gonna start with our esteemed guest, Strigley. Let's tell the people your stance on the topic. Does crowdfunding prolong development?
Yeah, well, definitely, because the original plan was to have the game out was at end of 2014, and they did a vote thing on the website whether people wanted the game to be delayed a bit and expanded upon. So, in that aspect, yeah, 100%.
So you definitely think 100% it definitely prolongs the development of the game. Now, I guess the follow up question to that before I answer, I just want to clarify for the viewers. Do you have a problem with that?
Uh, yes and no. Like, I feel like it's prolonged it a bit too long, but then it's added a whole lot of features to the game that, the original game may not have held my attention for long without them. So what they're being too ambitious, but part of that's good because it's adding content. But at some point they'll have to wrap it up and stop expanding upon things.
I got you. Me personally, the answer is definitely yes, and I'm going to, and we'll go into detail a little bit later. But I'm just going to basically skim over the aspect of it. Me personally, yes, I think the ongoing crowdfunding, like I think this year, and we'll see graphics later that me and Strigley have researched and a particular graphic showing the earnings. We don't know the validity of the graph, so we can only go, based off of what information we had, that we've been told that this particular year of crowdfunding has exceeded the previous year, or therefore, or they're as close to it. If not, we're going to show a graphic later. The graphic that Strigley sent me, I can't pull it up for whatever reason. I can't. I do have one that you guys should be able to see, and I'll show it. I don't know to what extent you will see it, but we'll see if you can see it. Me personally, yes, I think it extends to the development of the game. And here's why. Chris Roberts have specifically said that all crowdfunding goes towards game development. Okay? If all the crowdfunding earnings go towards game development, if you have a certain idea of what the game is going to be, yet you are still racking in, let's see, just looking, throwing a number out there based off the graph, just racking in around 80 million per year, and you're able to pay the salaries of all of your staff, and you have leftover money, what are you going to do with that money? You already
Can I
have the
put
tool.
my but can I put my opinion in there?
Sure.
So, well, a certain amount of that money is going to need to be budgeted for future years in case funding isn't, as much as it is. So, popularity of the project falls off.
True. But you're looking over is what they say. it all, like, you add a penny, you add a dime, you add a nickel, it all adds up. So if you look at 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, so if you look at all the excess money they've earned, it all adds up. So you're saving all this income in the savings account. So you have all this excess money. So, but yet he's made a promise that every single penny is going to go towards development. So so this is my point. If you've earned, let's just throw a random number out there of 100 million, and this 100 million is not essential to the core development of the game. You've already earned enough to get the hardware you need to get the tools for software development. You have the staff you need in order to, like, let's say 500, and you don't necessarily have to expand. The only reason why you expand is because you're continuing to get additional income. So you're continuing
So,
to.
so by the game, are you referring to both Squadron 42 and the PU, or?
Yes, for both.
So, because they mentioned a few years ago that they already have the funds to complete Squadron. So I guess the main of it is just having any extra funds to try and do what they can for the actual PU.
Right, but the Squadron is a single player game. You don't have to have servers and server meshing and entity graphs in order to create that. Creating a single player experience is not expensive at all. You
To
could
a
have.
degree. Because they did mention that you'd be able to, well, it may have changed, but the plan was to have friends be able to drop in and take over the control
True.
of the NPCs, helping out in missions.
And I just want to put out there that's similar to I want to say, I can't think of the name of it. It's the PC game that, or not the PC game. It's the console game that just recently came out. It's sort of like a Destiny 2 game, but I can't think of the name of it. It's the four-player NPC all thing that kind of like fell flat on its face. And Anthem. Anthem. It's similar to the game Anthem, where you can jump into a person's thing that they're doing, and sort of like, or even Justice, not Justice League, the
Or
Avengers
even,
game, where you're going through the story and a player can join in through certain parts of that story to help you out. But the last I heard of that, strictly, they it didn't seem too confident that they thought that they could do that though.
well, the other thing is really early on, they said things that it was sort of goals that they were aiming for. Like they were quite vague on what was actually going to be in the game because they hadn't figured out what they could actually do. And it was almost advertised, if you can think of it, it'll sort of be in it. So there's going to be a lot of things early on that have changed over the years.
Raven says the Titan is the best starter. Let's agree to disagree. Look, I have a Titan. I have two. I have two Titans. As a matter of fact, okay. Whenever somebody starts shooting at me, literally, it takes 2 or 3 bullets, and my ship goes.
You sure it's not the pilot?
I, I mean, what can I do? I don't even have time to react before my ship explodes. That's the thing. I was literally, okay. We're getting off topic, but I just want to say this. I was going to post a Spectrum post about this because I know the Titan is the starter ship, but I don't think that they should be able to hit me with a couple of bullets and my ship explodes before I even have time to react. Whenever I'm flying a Titan, that's the experience I have. Like
Well, a lot of streamers still have that same view where the Titan's still one of the most solid starters. Like things like the Nomad are still popular. Cutlass Black has almost fallen off a bit because it's not as strong in combat at the moment, but it's still got the multi-role and all that sort of jazz.
true. I mean, I'm not. I'm not. It's just like, even okay. Let's look at the Arrow, or the Gladius. Those aren't the same experiences, I feel like, that you experience with the Titan though. You can shoot an arrow a couple of times depending on what ship you're shooting it with. Let's say if I have a Saber or even a Vanguard, maybe I hit it a couple of times. It's not going to blow up like a Titan would. I feel like the hit points on the Titan are just way too low. I don't know about the Mustang. I've never flown a Mustang. That's another starter ship. I don't know all the starter ships. I want to say it's the Titan, Mustang. I think a Pisces at some point was a part of a starter
Yeah,
package.
there's. I wouldn't recommend it. The 100 series, they're not too flash.
Origin, yep.
300s.
And those are part of the starter package. Even the Origin series, I don't think that I'm not a fan of Origin, so I don't fly them. Um, but I don't even I would have to defer to somebody who flies them, but I would guess that they don't even do that. It just seems to be the Titan. So I don't know, but anyway, we're off subject. We're off subject. Let's jump into it. So in regards, basically, so my point of view is yes, I think it's slowing down development, and I think it's slowing down development because it's basically just giving them new objectives and new things to look for, as opposed to just finishing what they already the scope of what they already have. You have a certain idea of what the game's going to look like. You have a scope, you have plans, and then you get another $80 million next year, and it's like, we have more money. This needs to go towards development. So now we have to figure out something to do with this money. So let's just jump into it though. Let's get into a couple of direct pointed questions. So I wanted to sort of get your idea of what you think, as far as like the time it's taking for development. The game started in 2012. We are in 2021, 10 years. Well, no, 11 years. Um, and we are where we are. You can think how you want to think about the development, but the idea is to hear your particular points of views. I have my points of views. So, what do you think about the time it's taken to get to where we are in development?
Well, it's a hard one because you do need to remember that they have started as a whole new company, so they've had to build that from the ground up with no people, and then they've had to do their own back end server stuff and build upon existing technology to support things that aren't already there.
Okay, with
So
that,
I sort of understand, and at the same time, being a the one of the negatives about being a crowdfunded game is people want results, and which means that they've had to, as soon as they can, let people be able to play in the alpha. So they've got to put a certain amount of resources into sustaining, good servers and patches and keeping the community happy to some degree. So even though it's a bit of a wait and is very ambitious, like where was I going?
oh, it's
I,
very
like I,
ambitious. It's very ambitious. Like they're adding new features. You're basically piggybacking on what we were saying about the new funds that are coming in. It's very ambitious. You're continuing to add things, and this is
it's
kind of what
understandable.
this this is
It's
this is kind of what I wanted to tackle, because one of the big things for me is that, look, I would be fine. I wouldn't have a problem with it if the game was um a certain point in development and you could do certain things in the game even though it's in the alpha. But yet you were continuing to add content quarterly, and it was different content that was being brought into the game, sort of like the game Defiant. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the game Defiant. I think it's Defiant 20 something. It's a what they refer to as a living RPG. But they basically, it's a game, but they just continuously add things to it. It does. I think that the game has been out for 10 plus years or something like that, and yet they continuously add DLCs to it. They just continuously add to it. They call it a living environment, a living world. They just continuously add things to it.
well, it's the
Sort
plan for Star Citizen though, just to
well,
have it.
exactly. That's my thought process, and it would be great if we were at that point, but we haven't gotten to that point. We haven't gotten the basic of anything besides. I won't say that we haven't gotten the basics. We have gotten the basics of what mining, cargo running, bounty hunting, and that's basically it. And when I say the basics, I mean the cargo grid is being reworked. You guys know how cargo works. If you're watching this, I'm pretty sure you know how cargo works. Mining, which has been reworked several times now. I feel like at least three times, at least three times. Bounty hunting, at least what, probably two times, and it still doesn't seem to work right because the bounties glitch out or they run into a asteroid and kill themselves, and so it's just, I would say, the basics of those. Um,
They don't want to put too much focus on keeping the play. Well, you want to keep the players happy to a degree, but there's no point polishing an alpha because that just delays things too much.
True, but Chris Roberts himself has said he, in his opinion, in his thought process, and he thinks the game is out because the game is out on alpha. It's accessible to players right now. He has said that. This has come out of his mouth. It's accessible to everyone now. It's playable now. This is not something that's in the works and nobody can get to it and nobody knows what's going on. It's available now. As far as he's concerned, it's live now, like live in PTU. It's live now. So I guess it's just your thought process of what is a good live version of it. It goes into different things that people expect from this game, but for me, I look at other games and I think, okay, this particular, like you said earlier, this particular game, they had to develop tools. They had to develop different features for those tools. They had to develop the what they refer to as they say it all the time. They refer to it
Copy
as
machine.
pipelines. No, the development pipelines. Pipelines. They had to develop those and re-iron those so that they can get to a point to where they feel like it's really efficient to try to achieve what they're trying to achieve. This was basically built from scratch. This wasn't a studio that was already established like EA or um what other studios are there?
Blizzard.
Yeah, any other gaming studios out there that have games that come out on the regular, like Elder Scrolls or even Star Trek Online or Call of Duty. Like those studios, they have a pipeline, they have a foundation already in place that Star Citizen didn't have, so they had to build that. That's the only way that they know how to function. That's how these places normally function. So I get that. So I say, okay, you came out in 2012. You needed time to build this foundation. You have 2012 to, let's just say, 2016, 4 years. You have 4 years to build this foundation. So let's, if we were, all in agreement that,
Still
okay, well,
building it, but yeah,
yeah, okay. Let's just
on the
say,
future tech.
but that's because they're earning more money. That's because they're earning
Well,
more
that's
money.
they're aiming for high end stuff and things that other games don't already do. So so they're sort of bottlenecking themselves a bit, which is part of the problem.
Well, look at the new studios that they got coming out. What about the new studios? I mean, they wouldn't be opening those new studios if it wasn't for the money that's coming out. So
Yeah. There's a big push. Well, Chris Roberts said in his last big video that he's moving to the UK to focus on Squadron 42. So they are keeping it a little bit too secret. I think they should leak a little bit more for us. But at the same time, they're putting a lot of their resources there, which has been sort of the comment for a long time. And the new studio, what's that got? I think they're looking at 700 to 1,000 staff members. So I reckon we're going to see quite a big expansion between that and Turbulence. Is it Turbulence? What's the name? The website designers that last year took on the role of creating systems. I think there's a whole lot of content that's maybe ready or close to being ready to be put into the game. They just don't have some of the back end service stuff to support it.
yeah, I would agree. I mean, they're definitely making moves, but I think it's only because of the new funding that's coming out. That's the whole point of the topic. They won't be able to open these new studios and add these new employees if it wasn't for the new funding that's coming out. And some people will say, okay, well, we have more employees, like things will come out faster. That's not the case. That's not the case, and we've proven that already. It seems like the more they expand, the slower things come out because there's so much communication that needs to be done. It's taking a slower amount of time.
We also run into the problem that if they're doing server backend or something to do with computer backend stuff, the more people that are working on it, especially if there's coding or anything like that, the more of a mess it becomes. So they could be just waiting for a handful of people to get certain aspects right before they can start putting content in and new systems. And
Yeah,
like I
that's what.
reckon a lot of them are probably there's probably a couple of systems at my guess that are at least half complete. And then I wouldn't be surprised if Nix is getting pretty close too. But
That's what they said about Turbulent as well. You know, they had to they were bringing Turbulent on, but they a lot of people were saying, yeah, it's going to take some time for him to get up to speed. Basically, you know, learn the tools, the tricks, the traits. So it's going to take a little bit of amount of time. But
well, planets and moons they said are pretty quick. Well, I think it was several weeks to create them basically. It might have been a couple of months, but either way.
back then,
Going back, I think it would have been about a year ago. I think that it was, yeah, they're saying the Microtech moons didn't take that long to make. And you got to remember as well that with Stanton's system, they're developing a lot of the tools and things like terrain and whatever water if they decide, yeah, any basically textures and things that they'll be using in other systems.
yeah, they'll definitely be able to reuse assets in different systems, so it should speed up a couple of things. But my thing is that they've been saying that all along. Like I think what was the good? Oh, the Planet Tech team. I think they were showing off this new tool that they had just finished, and they were talking about how faster creating planets was gonna be, and how easier and how much more they'll be able to do. But look at Orison, how long Orison took, even with all that being done.
Still
I
a first though. I reckon a lot of that was the cloud stuff. Like what other game? That's the other thing. Star Citizen does firsts and things. Like what other game has a awesome city in the clouds? Like something like Star Wars has got that in their movies.
that's true. I mean, it's personally, speaking of movies, first of all, I think that Star Citizen should come out with a TV series, animated TV series, but sort of like that one thing that they put out on YouTube, the series with the people in the Star Runner when the Star Runner had first came out. I can't think of the series name. Um, but it was the woman who was taking the other woman to these, I guess, outlaws. She had her in cells. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm,
I can't think of the series name.
can I guess it's not The Expanse, is it? Since everyone talks about that.
No, no, no. That's like a real life TV show. No, no, no. I'm talking about the Star Citizen skit that they put together. Remember the YouTube videos where,
Oh, of
uh,
the Mercury Star Runner, yeah.
yeah, and they were this one lady was taking this other lady to these outlaws, and when she took them to the outlaws, I guess she got paid, and you know she sort of was like, okay, one last goodbye, and then they broke out and ran away. So they
Well, the
got
game's
paid and took off. You don't
Squadron's
remember?
going to be Squadron's going to be filled with
Oh,
those because Chris Roberts used to do film for a while
what's
before he
what
between doing
series is
games.
that from? I can't think of the name of the series. I have to, and if I go to the Star Citizen page, you have to dig through all the videos. I won't even be able to find it. But anyway, let's move on to the next question of the show here. So it's in relation to what we've been talking about. So in reference to the annual events, I wanted to get your opinion on what do you think about the annual events? Like obviously the annual event, Evictus, IAE, CityCon are all geared towards sales, ship sales. You know, all about the ships. How do you feel about like other annual events that don't include ship sales? You know, I don't know, maybe some event that's centered around some future or some particular gameplay or some particular event, sort of like Nine Tails or
Well,
the other.
they've got one coming in the next big patch. What is it? Jump Town they were focusing on.
Is that an event coming with that?
Yeah, so it'll be. I don't know if you're around with the old Jump Town. Basically, it was a drug area, and doing drugs paid a lot. So you'd get a whole lot of combat because people would fight over the location. Was they sort of accidentally created it going back a few years ago and then removed it from the game, but they want to bring it back in.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm speaking particularly in like reference to like something big as IAE or CityCon or something big like that. It's a week long
Do you mean in
extravaganza.
game, or you mean like
And
an event that just
both,
doesn't bring
just
in funding, or
however you want to do it, however you want to do it. It could be in game, it could be something through the website, something like these contests that they run, screenshots or whatever the case may be. Just some type of event that is like I forget what they call it. It's sort of like the I think it's around April where it's like the sync. What do they call it? It's
I can't think of it
the
either.
good luck thing where
Oh, so
all
you
the
mean
ships
like
they release ships that have green skins
the
on them.
St. Patrick's Day? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Well, they sort of do that. They do for Valentine's, but talking event, it could be quite cool if they can come to an agreement with another company and have a crossover between maybe games or something like that. Sort of like they've done with the Star Kitten Dragonfly. With so yeah, it'd be quite cool. But um,
I I'm thinking of a couple of different things that could be done, and I'm just thinking, man, there's a lot there. There's a lot you can do in this particular type of sandbox, and
yeah, but at
it's
the same time, the more that whenever every time they do the big sales or a big event, there is time that they're time basically where anything that they do to try and bring money in, whether it be ship trailers, is time that they're taking away from potential yeah, fun, going towards the game and making new content and slowing down production potentially. Well, to a degree, I know they've got particular groups within the studios, and that's what they do. But for example, if there's a new ship, that's the other problem with ship sales is it delays other ships already in the pipeline, and if they have to do trailers or any big website thing for it, then quite often what happens is all the groups come together to polish the ship, and that slows down and delays other things.
I definitely don't think the creation of ships like slow down development at all. You have a certain dedicated team to creating ships, so the actual task of creating new ships doesn't slow anything down. That's literally their job to design these ships. I just think when new funds come in, that just adds more things to that list.
There's
But
still more people they have to employ, and you've got
yeah,
to remember that every ship that they add to the game, as the game advances over the years, they need to go back and repolish that ship and bring it up to scratch with
which
its
means
graphics and
more
everything,
development
all
time.
its yeah, exactly.
All right, so I want to move on to this question. I believe I don't know for sure. Let's see. Can we bring it up? Because it wasn't looking too promising a moment ago. Let's see if we can bring it up. Let's see. Let's see.
Good to keep going.
No, absolutely.
So yeah, I just wasn't sure if it was something you're going to cut later. Anyway, if for Squadron 42, I understand keeping that secret because no one wants the spoilers for that. But at the same time, it's the amount of resources put into it. I feel like they should be showing more because it's their reason for saying, "Hey, we haven't got stuff to show."
But I feel okay. So when they first started the development, they knew it was going to be an open development. They knew people were going to have strong reactions or whatever the case may be along the line. I don't think that that's an accurate or not accurate. I don't think that that's an acceptable, and I use the word acceptable strongly. I don't think that that's an acceptable cause to stop being an open development game as you promised all the backers to begin with. I mean, the reasoning may be understandable, but the fact that you promised it was going to be a certain way doesn't give you the right to change it just because opinions are strong. Nobody wants the game to be spoiled to a certain point. Like, so as far as Squad 42, I don't think anybody has a problem with there not being information on Squad 42. I haven't personally seen it myself, and nor do I personally have a problem with it. I don't want I don't want any spoilers. I want to sit when Squad 42 comes out. I want to sit down, play the game, and from start to finish, probably play it twice just to make different decisions, um, and be completely amazed at what I see, not knowing anything. I don't want any sneak peeks or. Now, I would say this because they did that one episode on Star Citizen on the Star Citizen YouTube channel, for Squad 42 with Todd Pappy. I think it was. Uh, I think I think it's the right guy, Todd Pappy. Um, I could be getting it. I think it was Todd
Not
Pappy.
sure.
But it was the episode. Let me look it up. Into I can't think of the official name they used, but it was the one episode that they did, and they stopped doing it because they didn't want to continue to give away spoilers.
It was the other thing as well is that
The
it's
briefing room.
they have it closed to a degree
The
with the
briefing room.
development because that generates hype, which then brings in money and just keeps everyone interested as well.
I
But they
don't.
have got. I have noticed over the last year that they have become more open. Like I feel like felt like for a few years there they did become closed in what they were doing, but just recently, especially since they started focusing on Inside Star Citizen being the main updates and taking from basically CitizenCon, because Jared jumped on a stream I was watching just after CitizenCon, and he said the reason that CitizenCon was lacking content compared to previous years is that they started spreading that content out inside Star Citizen instead. So you got more fluid. Yeah, it's more fluid.
Yeah, I definitely I like what Jared's doing. I'm not knocking anything Jared's doing or saying that Jared's not showing enough information. Jared is showing the information that is available to him. You know, even he himself shows clearly on his shows that he would like more information. It's clear that certain things appeal to him, and he would like more information on it, and he's not getting it. So he was only able to show what he was able to show. So it's definitely not a knock on Jared at all. It's just the clarity, um, and the transparency of the project. Such a survey mission. Sure, we're getting information on what it does, how it's supposed to operate, when they plan on implementing it, which is awesome because they never answer the question when, which makes sense
Well, you
for them
can't
not to do
when
that. But
as a developer. That's the other thing. They've stopped giving deadline dates because they used to, and then they'd not meet it, and people get all upset, which is why once again they're not as open with what they're doing.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it definitely makes sense for them not to do that. I'm not knocking that, but at the same time, something like the roadmap, right? Let's say this, like salvaging has been pushed back so many times.
Oh my.
But let me ask you this:
3.3, I think it was.
why has it been pushed back so many times?
Because they've decided they wanted it to a certain
Well, let me
level.
stop you there. Let me stop you there. Are you guessing, or is it because of the information they provide?
So they've said that they want it to a certain level of quality. Like for the last time anyway, because they originally were going to just do the simple hand salvaging, and then they said last reason for delaying was that they wanted to have more of it fleshed out, like they did with mining.
Mining wasn't fleshed out.
Well, I mean, how mining is. So, what is it? Version 1, or
Right, right. But
instead of
that's
going version 0, they
back
want to
in
jump straight
like
to
you just
version
said,
1.
back in what 3.3 or something like that, or whatever the case may be. Are you saying that that was the case back then? It's from 3.3. Let's stop for a second, okay? Because like I said, strictly, I'm gonna call you on your bullshit. I'm gonna be the bad guy here. Okay, let's stop for a second. All right, 3.3 compared to 316.
This is what they said when they delayed it.
No, 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 no,
It might be
no, no.
just recently.
I know. But you're saying that the reason is because they wanted to flesh it out. Quality. They wanted it to be more complete. That was the reason, right? They
Uh,
pushed it back.
I don't know if that was the reason. There's so much at goal. I'm not.
Uh,
I'm trying to remember their
but
actual reasons
I
for.
asked you a moment ago. Were you guessing, or was it because of the information they gave you?
I guess I didn't directly answer your question then. Like I probably answered slightly off.
So just to clarify, is it you like guessing at why it was pushed back, or is it because of the information they gave you?
I don't. So I don't know the exact reason. Like I probably read it, what for being pushed back, but they did mention that it would have to be. It'll be more developed when they did bring it out because of that delay.
Right. I'm just. Would it be fair to say that they didn't provide a reason, any clarity on what was being pushed back?
I
Star
probably
Citizen,
read it, but I don't
not the
remember.
community, not the community, not hearing it from other people or anything like that, but Star Citizen coming out and saying this is the reason why it's being pushed back.
But it's like the goal thing again. They have a goal to have something ready at a certain level, and if it's not quite right or it's not polished enough, or maybe they want,
You're dancing around the answer.
yeah.
You're dancing around the answer.
I don't have facts then.
Let's call a spade a spade. You're dancing around the answer. That's just it though. I mean, me personally, and look, maybe there's plenty of information out there. Maybe this to talk about. I don't know, but there's no official statement that I've seen. Maybe it's out there. I haven't seen it. That they open development, quote unquote, explain why salvage has been pushed back from two, three, whatever the case may be, to
It's the 7 now.
317.
It's been
So it's like just, and that's just an example I'm using. Like it's the root question, right? Was is it truly open development? So I can't say that it is, and maybe certain reasons. Start Squad 42 is an exception. I think everyone's fine with that. Star Citizen PU, maybe not so much. If something is not up to par, something is not quality, explain what it is, and people will say, okay, well, that's what they do in the monthly report. Do they though? Because I've posted a lot of Spectrum posts where some information in the monthly report is either literally a sentence long, or it's just not in the monthly report. Some stuff they do, sure. Um, But if you're working on like things that are on the roadmap, literally it shows you've been working on this for the last 7 months, 7 months. But in the monthly report, you have maybe a sentence or nothing at all mentioning about it. That's not open development. So it's a catch-22 where are you going to be open or are you going to be part-time about it? That's kind of the thing where the purpose of the question is. It seems more part-time with the open development. It's not necessarily just all open as promised. That was the point of the question. But I think we can probably squeeze in this last one if you got time. Still with me? Strictly? Did we lose Strictly?
I'm here. Can you not hear me?
Yep, I can hear you now. I think we can squeeze in this last one, okay? It's kind
Yeah,
of
I've
a
got time.
it's kind of a mouthful. um so in your opinion, what would happen if crowdfunding came to a halt? And when I say halt, I mean not necessarily no funds at all. You're probably bringing in 80 million a year, every year, something around that, considering the last 2 years. When I say a halt in this particular question, I mean probably instead of bringing in 80 million, you probably bring in like 2 or 3 million. So that's what I mean when I say a halt. So what would happen if crowdfunding came to a halt? Do you think that Star Citizen would what close certain studios or lay people off, or after some time of them not earning any additional income or enough additional income, they would just put the game out or all the futures and everything into the game and put it out as is? If you're talking, we can't hear you. Testing, testing. Can you hear me? Testing, testing. Can you hear me? I think we might have lost Strickler here, guys. We might need to exit the voice comm and come back in, which I don't want to do because that's. We'll see if he comes back here. Let's give it a moment here. We're going to close down the shop here. If we can't get Strictly back, we'll go ahead and close down the show. We're near the end of the show anyway, but we're trying to fit in one last question before before the show's over with. I'm curious, guys. Me personally, I'll go ahead and answer my part. If the crowdfunding came to a halt, I think that they would be forced to basically put
Am I
out
good now?
everything. We can't hear you now. I can hear you now.
I
You
think my
can hear you.
keyboard's dying. Yeah, bad. I'm good now. I think
Huh?
I'm good.
Uh,
Sorry, what was the question again? I was trying to answer and realized you didn't hear me.
I was just asking. The question was, what would happen if crowdfunding came to a halt? And I don't know if you heard me, but when I mean a halt, I mean instead of basically making 80 million or something like that, they were to make 3 million in a year. So instead of making 80 million in a year, they made 3 million. Um, with do you think that the Star Citizen studios, some of them would close, or they would probably lay certain people off,
So,
or
so
after some time of not making a lot of money, they would just put all the features into the game and just put it out as is.
I think neither of those. I believe they'd probably put like Star Citizen, like the PU, on hold, and just put complete focus on Squadron 42 and getting that out to fund the game.
So they would just focus on one game. They would just say, okay, let's not do the PU, or let's just leave the PU as is, leave it up, leave it running, but
Yeah,
we just
so
gonna.
put it on hold until they can get Squadron out and get funds in that way.
I didn't think about that. I didn't think about just completely shutting one of the projects down. But at the same time, I feel like they've already completed like more than 75% of Squad 42. So what would you do with the addition? What would you do with the access income that you already have if it doesn't go directly in development? You would still have to you would still have to develop those, right? So you would probably close down some studios or probably lay certain people off. You couldn't pay them all. At a certain point, Star Citizen is going to reach the point to where the game is out. So how are they paying their staff?
I reckon Squadron's going to be out late next year because they're focusing on this new studio, and Chris is moving over to the UK to focus on Squadron as well.
But the question remains. I mean, at some point they're going to put the game out full release. It's done. Here you go, guys. Then what?
Well, the plan was to never actually have the game like fully released, so they put it out and then they just keep adding content. Like they said way back, the plan was new content comes in and they hide it in the universe, and players have to discover it.
So, do you think they're not ever going to stop making new ships? Always going to be new ships. Is that something you think, or new outfits, or obviously new outfits? I think, or new skins or
So,
something like that. But
in relation to sales or just in general?
right. So let's say imaginary world. Um, so let's say that the game is out for release. All the content is in. Full release. Game is out. At this point, how do they make additional income?
So I'm thinking well, things like skins. I believe if they have a new ship come in, that they'd still do a sale for that new ship, maybe in limited numbers, and just cosmetics because people love to be different and unique.
I
And there's
definitely
things like, but maybe apartments, maybe limited. Well, they said way back, whether it's still the plan, but we're going to be able to spend new real money to buy a limited amount of currency as well. But you
Okay.
are right. There is
Okay.
a lot of money coming in from ships that they there's no incentive to release potentially because there's so
Right.
much money
That's
coming
that's
in.
that's 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 kind of the whole big picture. Like, what incentive do they have to push this game out as fast as possible
To stop ship sales is probably
to end the amount of income that they have coming in? That's the
so they
bottom
need to
line.
replace it. Yeah,
I mean, if you say I want to push this game out as fast as possible, then everyone's working like a dumb amount of overtime and just pushing things through the pipeline, and everything is being pushed out back to back to back. Then what motivation, what incentive do you have after the game is out? I mean, like Star Citizen has over 700 employees. How do you pay those guys if you're not making the necessary income in order to do so? You can have income that comes in from where people are purchasing starter packages, people are purchasing starter ships because the game is full release. Now it's out to the general public. Everyone's getting in. You're making you already raised 400 million, but now you raised another 400 million just for people actually jumping into the game.
you've already
Um,
got an example of the problem at the moment is skins, where going back a couple of years ago they said, hey, we'd be able to get the hex codes for the skins and be able to customize our ships and choose how to paint them. But between then and now, they've been selling skins. So everyone's saying, hey, where's that hex code? And of course, they don't want to stop doing those skins because it brings them money. So whether they maybe, in my opinion, maybe they should have skins, maybe multicolored. You have to buy them with real cash. And maybe if they're a single colored ship, they should maybe let us choose the color.
well, that's why they don't want to do packs.
There's also org things as well. So they
That's
could
why
have
they don't want to do it.
org decoy. Is it decoys or yeah, but org symbols of your org. Maybe you could
Yeah,
have it on your ship
that's
or
what
on your
they
clothing.
decals.
Yeah, decals.
They should
But they
definitely have that.
they could charge real money for those.
Yeah.
Maybe $5, to put it on your ship
I
or
mean,
whatever
yeah,
it be.
I get you. There are ways that they can make additional money, just like WoW or any other RPG. Costumes, apparels, um, and things that you can cosmetic wise
But the loot
separate
system can
yourself.
the loot system's counterproductive to that because then you just kill someone and take it, which is the problem at the moment with subscriber stores. Suddenly subscribers don't have a reason to get the new armor because if they wear it and they die and someone just loots them and takes it and they've got it for free.
I mean, that kind of I think that also kind of creates gameplay because if someone loots you and takes you, you kind of want to go get it back. So now now you have gameplay. You might spend the next hour or two just trying to get it back. So I get your point though. I get your point. But it
But a lot of players are PvE players and don't want the PvP. You run into the line between what's griefing and what's PvP, and that's a whole different discussion.
it's gonna happen. Especially with the people that are not already in the game. Like the people that are waiting for full release, they don't care about they don't care about anything. They just want to play a game.
There's a
So
huge number of people that are bought into the game, especially early project, and they're not touching it until it's released. And they've got it just sitting there on the shelf. They shelved the game just waiting.
yeah. So I mean, the final thoughts. Um, we're gonna shut episode one down. I think at least 10 minutes of this episode wasn't recorded. At least my mic wasn't recorded. I think you guys heard Strictly.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
my
upload it
keyboard was
anyway, and I'm just
cutting
gonna
out
put
for
a
a bit.
message that says my audio was messed up. But I think for at least 10 minutes of the episode, you guys didn't hear me. My apologies. So we spent an hour before the show trying to get it ready. Like I said before, it's just things that you don't notice. Anyway, so my final thoughts. I'll start with me, and then we'll go to Stigley. Um, my final thoughts personally are, I think that yes, additional crowdfunding does slow down development. It adds additional income to, I guess you call it, their access income. And Chris Robinson said all income is going to go towards game development. So if you have a finite list of features and game and things you want to develop, if you have additional income come in and all that income is coming to game development, you have to increase that list in order to um, stay true to all of those funds being towards game development. You don't need tools or hardware if you've already got it. So those additional funds that are coming in, they're going to go towards adding additional things to that list. So it's just never going to be never ending. Um, it's not necessarily a bad thing because you want the game to be the best damn space game ever. That's the whole point. Everyone wants this to be the best damn space game ever. But it just has to be to a point to where you say, okay, let's stop adding things to what we're going to put into the game.
This is Chris Roberts,
Let's
though.
let's put what we have now into the game. Once we have it into the game, we get it released, then we'll start working on additional things to put into the game because we have the income, right?
Well,
So,
Chris is just really ambitious, and
I mean, it's just too ambitious. It's
and the
never ending
more
ambition.
well,
It's
the
never
more
ending.
funding that comes in, is more that can be put towards the project.
It,
So
it, it has to be an end.
crowdfunding's
It
needed
has to be.
to
It has to
support it.
be. It has to be a destination with the ambition. It has to be a clear cut end of the tunnel. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Uh, at least
I think you just muted yourself.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, you said at least, and then you muted.
At least put all the features of what we have on the list now into the game. Get to a point of full release everything, and then add features to the game.
There's already so many features that they've said they're aiming to have in that's not even there. So exploration, salvage, just a couple that we mentioned earlier.
All right. All right, Strictly. Final thoughts.
Yeah, so crowdfunding is needed, and they need to continue doing it because the game, as ambitious as it is, it needs funding to come in to keep it afloat and to get all the features in that everyone wants in the final game.
Awesome. And you think that we should continue to crowdfund?
Well, if it's as long as the features aren't in that we want in, and maybe once they start coming in and it gets closer to, say, the PU coming into beta, then maybe it doesn't need as much. But at this stage, yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. Well, that's going to be the conclusion of the episode one of QuantumCitizens, guys.
Sure.
Uh,
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, strictly. Once again, the social media has been up the entire stream, so I'm pretty sure people have saw where they can find you. But if you just want to shout yourself out or your org, you want to shout anything out or
Oh, over voice. So you can find me on Twitter. Um, if you ever have trouble with Star Citizen stuff or want to know anything about CCUs or upgrades, feel free to PM me. And yeah, if you're a new streamer and you want me to come by and say hi, I'm happy to. Just fling me a message.
uh, you mentioned some stuff with your org. Didn't want to
Yeah.
share or
Oh, my org. Yeah. Yeah. If you're after org, I play with Scarlet Order or Scored. Good bunch of guys, or guys and girls, and it's sort of like a family environment. We do several events weekly, and yeah, lots of fun. So we got lots of different houses. We got exploration. I can't think of them all off the top of my head, the names, but yeah.
Awesome. All right. So the socials have been on the overlay the entire time, guys. So if you want to, and it'll be in the description on YouTube in case you guys want to go check Strigly out, follow him. Go ahead and send some love to that org. I appreciate you coming on, Strigly, on
Cool,
the
thank
very
you.
on the very first episode of Quantum Citizens. Tongue twister. We will be back next Saturday for episode 2. We will have a new topic, and perhaps a new guest, or maybe even Strigly and somebody else if Strigly wants to come back. We will have additional or more guests. Um,
Or if you want to maybe be a guest, yeah, maybe yeah, say something and say what maybe you want, what your expertise are, or your knowledge around Star Citizen, and we could maybe include you in a future episode.
absolutely, absolutely, 100%. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone for coming out. Thank you. Shout out to Raven Queen for helping us with the audio at the beginning of the episode. Um, all right, that's gonna be it for this episode. I hope to see you guys next episode, and we will have a new topic to talk about, something that I think you guys are going to be into as well. Thanks for Strictly. Thanks for everyone that has viewed the show. I will catch you guys next time. You guys be safe out there in the verse, and may the verse be ever in your favor. You guys have a good night.